Welcome back to Euro Football Daily, where for today's video, we bring you 10 players whose release clauses make them very tempting transfer prospects next month. Let's get into it. 10. Galeno. We start in Portugal with Brazilian forward Galeno. Bought to the country by Porto in 2016 for just 1.5 million euros, initially with a release clause of 40 million euros, Galeno has since moved on to Braga, where he can now be picked up for just 15 million euros. Costing the Archbishops just double what Porto paid for him in the summer of 2019, the 23-year-old was instantly a key member of the side, contributing 6 goals and 4 assists as Braga would go on to finish third in Liga NOS. And in the Europa League, he was even more impressive, scoring 1 and setting up 6 in just 566 minutes of action as his side were eliminated in the round of 32. Naturally a right winger, but spending just as much time on the opposite flank, Galeno has put up 2.3 shots, 2 key passes and 2.2 dribbles a match so far this season, and continues to impress on the continent. In 4 games, he's already contributed to 6 goals, in addition to 4 goals in the league. A quality, versatile attacker, available for a decent price. 9. Rafael Santos Borre. Heading to South America next, where we take a look at the man who's leading the line for Argentinian giants River Plate. Rafael Santos Borre moved back to South America after 2 unsuccessful years in La Liga, failing to make an appearance for Atletico Madrid between 2015 and 2017, scoring just 4 goals in 30 games and a year on loan at Villarreal in 16-17. The Colombian is still only 25 though, and has scored 38 goals in 109 matches since returning to River, averaging out to a goal every 180 minutes. Not bad for a striker who's on the market for just 15 million euros and entering the prime of his career. Santos Borre, who has 2 caps for Los Cafeteros, was part of the River side that beat rivals Boca Juniors in the 2018 Copa Libertadores final, and last season was the top goal scorer in the Superliga with 12 goals in 20 matches. If Borre puts up another season like that, he might fancy a second crack at Europe. Before we move on to our next section, if you're not part of the EFD squad, then hit that subscribe button now and turn notifications on to never miss another video. 8. Omar Colley. The only defender on this list, Sampdoria centre-back Omar Colley has quietly been going under the radar as one of Serie A's most consistent performers. Upon moving to Samp from Genk for 8 million euros back in 2018, an extremely reasonable release clause of 12 million euros was inserted into his contract. The 28-year-old Gambian, who played in his homeland, Finland and Sweden before making it to Belgium aged 24, has made 54 starts for his current club, and last season averaged 3.3 tackles and interceptions a game. And this season, he stepped it up to another level, averaging over 4 defensive actions per 90, whilst no one's topped his 5 clearances a match in Serie A between 2018 and 2020. Colley, who has 24 caps for Gambia, doesn't see his contract at the Stadio Luigi Ferrari expire until 2022, but rumours suggest he's unwilling to sign an extension amidst interest from across Europe, meaning his employers may look to cash in. And with such a cheap buyout, it's hard to see Sampdoria letting him go for anything less than the 12 million euros. 7. Rui Silva. Signed for just 1 million euros from Portuguese side Nacional in 2017, 26-year-old Rui Silva has already become one of La Liga's most highly rated goalkeepers. Despite being unused in his first season in southern Spain, his second campaign would see him win the Zamora Trophy for keeping 18 clean sheets in 40 matches as his side were promoted. And in his first year in La Liga, Silva would keep 12 more as Granada would go on to finish 7th and qualify for European competition for the first time in their history. So, whilst a release clause of 15 million euros seemed extortionate for a second choice keeper in the second tier, it now seems entirely reasonable for a player of his calibre. Silva's 2.9 saves a match last season was 6th amongst regular starters in La Liga, and this season he's maintaining similar form, resulting in his first call-up for the Portuguese national side. The likes of Inter, Roma, Lazio, Sevilla and Real Betis have all shown an interest in Silva in recent months, so it looks like that release clause could be activated soon. 6. Fabio Vieira. For young stars, release clauses often far exceed their current value, but are supposed to reflect the player they're going to become by the end of the contract. So the 30 million euro release clause that Porto have slapped on Fabio Vieira might look eye-watering now, especially considering he's played less than 500 top-flight minutes in his career, but it could quickly go on to prove a smart purchase if he continues on this trajectory. Only turning 20 in May, Vieira debuted for Porto's first team in June, and in just 20 appearances has already contributed to 4 goals across the Liga NOS and Champions League. Predominantly a right midfielder, Vieira has also been utilised in central midfield and on the left, showcasing his versatility. Barcelona paid Braga a similar amount for Trincao in January 2020, when the highly tipped youngster had made just 8 starts and contributed to 5 goals at senior level. At roughly the same age, but in a better side, Vieira has put up very similar career numbers and is already a Champions League goal scorer. Big clubs should sit up and take notice. 5. Chimy. Finding a bang-for-buck striker in one of Europe's top leagues is proving harder year on year. But here we have have two back-to-back, both based in La Liga. First up is Osasuna striker Chimy Avila, who has called Pamplona his home since 2019, after moving from Argentinian side San Lorenzo. 26-year-old Avila already has admirers in Spain, having spent 2 years on loan at Huesca, scoring with 10 goals as they were relegated from La Liga. But Osasuna had clearly seen enough, snapping him up for a little over €2.5 million and giving him a release clause of €25 million. And the first 6 months of his first season with the club were superb, netting 11 goals in 22 matches before an ACL injury ended his campaign prematurely. Unfortunately, on his return to action, he suffered the same injury in the other knee, putting this season in jeopardy too. Questions may be raised about his fitness following these injuries, and understandably so, but Arkadiusz Milic at Napoli suffered the same fate and went on to lead their clubs in scoring in consecutive seasons. The same can happen with Avila. 4. Alexander Isak. Real Sociedad striker Alexander Isak has always been a highly touted prospect, reportedly turning down Real Madrid upon signing for Borussia Dortmund in 2017 from AIK for €9 million, a record deal for the Swedish top flight. But Isak never found his feet in Germany and was ultimately sold on to La Real for €6.5 million in the summer of 2019. But here's where it gets interesting. Dortmund have a buyback clause on the Swedish international for €30 million, valid until the end of the summer in the 2023 transfer window. Whilst not strictly a release clause for any club to take advantage of, it could pose a problem for La Liga's high flyers. Isak, who scored 17 goals in 51 matches for Sociedad, could be high on Dortmund's shortlist when an even bigger club inevitably activates Erling Haaland's release clause when that becomes active in 2022. So if the Swede continues to make good on his potential, his current club may be forced to accept offers lower than his release clause. 3. Jesus Corona. The second Porto player on this list, Jesus Corona is 7 years older than teammate Fabio Vieira, but also has a release clause of €30 million in his contract. The Mexican joined the Portuguese powerhouse for a little over €10 million from FC Twente back in 2015, and has gone on to make almost 250 appearances for the Dragons in the last 5 years. Capable of playing on either wing and known for his pace and technique, the 27-year-old is also extremely versatile, spending much of the 1920 campaign at right back. And it was also last season that he bagged a career-high 21 assists in all competitions, bringing him to 61 in total for the club. Add to that 30 goals, and Corona has averaged a goal contribution every 172 minutes during his time at Porto, as well as averaging about 2.5 defensive actions a game too. Having also racked up almost half a century of caps for Mexico, €30 million feels like a steal for a player of his experience and quality. 2. Dayot Upamecano. A name you'll all be familiar with, Dayot Upamecano emerged as one of world football's best defensive prospects during his breakthrough campaign with RB Leipzig back in 2017-18. Turning 19 that season, the Frenchman made 41 appearances as his side qualified for European competition, and it became public knowledge that the teenager had a €60 million release clause. However, that was deemed slightly too high by the continent's biggest clubs, and upon signing a new deal in July 2020, a new lower release clause was agreed, just €42 million. Now Upamecano, one of 8 Leipzig players who have previously played for either RB Salzburg or New York Red Bulls, is almost certain to leave the Red Bull talent pool. The clause doesn't become active until the summer, meaning the likes of Bayern Munich, Liverpool and Manchester United can't get an edge on negotiations with the Champions League semi-finalists. Upamecano has averaged 4 defensive actions so far during his fledgling career, as well as completing 85% of his passes. Still only 22 years old, €42 million seems like an absolute steal for a player set to become one of the world's best, if he isn't already. 1. Lorenzo Pelligrini. Over the last few years, Roma have built up an exciting collection of youngsters, even if they're still being led by 30-somethings Edin Dzeko, Henrik Mkhitaryan and Pedro. But amongst the younger generation currently making the grade, one name stands out above the rest, and that's midfielder Lorenzo Pellegrini. Despite the 24-year-old coming up through the Giallorossi's youth ranks, Pellegrini was sold to Sassuolo in 2015, only for them to buy him back 2 years later for €10 million, inserting a €30 million release clause into his contract. And it seems like the time away did Pellegrini good, as he continued to develop into a physical yet agile midfielder capable of playing any role asked of him in the centre of the park. Putting up 4 defensive actions a game this season, as well as a shot, a dribble, and 2.5 key passes per 90, it's a surprise that the biggest club that has even considered making a move for Pellegrini has been Everton. With just 18 months left on his deal, now would be the time to swoop for the man at the centre that everything Roma does well. So guys, there are 10 release clauses that your club has to activate this January. Who have we missed out? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next time.